with the permission of my now wife, we got married, and all of a sudden, that wasn't nearly as much money as I thought it was before. So I started looking at ways to try to supplement that income because honestly, I didn't like what I did.
Hi, I'm Carla Higgins, and this is the Double Duty Agent Podcast. I am so glad you're here. Each week, we get together and we explore the stories of successful double duty real estate agents. And from their stories, you can find the solutions to overcoming your challenges and the keys to unlocking your success. Are you ready? Let's get started. All right. I am so excited. I have Steve Fulford with me today. Steve is the director of agent growth, and he's actually here in my market center. So you've met most of my leadership team. I think by the time we get all finished, you may meet them all. But Steve has got such an inspiring, amazing story. And we are going to jump in and hear about how he started as a dual career agent and a little bit of longevity in his career. He might be a little long in the tooth, which is a good thing because he's got lots of experience to share with us. And we're going to end with how he ended up in leadership. So that's the story that we're going to dive into today. And I don't know all the details of the story, so I am so excited to hear them. So Steve, welcome. I'm so happy you agreed to come on and share your story.
It. Sorry it took so long to get on here. We've been trying to do this for a while.
Well, that's the scheduling thing. We have to do that, right? We have to juggle balls. We all are juggling. All right. Other than being a juggler, Steve, why don't you tell me about how did you get in real estate? How did that happen? What were you doing before, first of all?
Well, so I started working at General Motors right out of high school, basically a year out of high school with Allison Transmission. And wow, thought I'd died and gone to heaven. More money than I'd ever made in my life. I don't even remember what it was now, but it was. I thought I was set for life. And then shortly thereafter, I decided with the permission of my now wife, we got married, and all of a sudden, that wasn't nearly as much money as I thought it was before. So I started looking at ways to try to supplement that income because honestly, I didn't like what I did. I was hourly for many years, and I just didn't like the schedule. I didn't like anything about it. I moaned and groaned, wanted to get out of there. And then 31 years later, I finally did.
You finally did?
Yeah, finally got out. But yes, so my dad was really good with his hands, and I always hung around my dad. So I picked a lot of that up. So I love to build things, love to work on things. And so I thought, hey, that's something that maybe I can turn into some extra money. So we got an opportunity really through my wife to start purchasing some rental properties off of one individual.
So you started as an investor.
Yeah, started as an investor before I ever got my license. And then realized, wow, this is really be something. Honestly, I think it was the education part more than the license. I'm thinking, oh, I'll go get my license and they'll teach me all about real estate. Like probably a few people listening to this may have had those same thoughts. And then once I finally got through that test and realized they didn't really teach me a whole lot.
They taught you how to stay out of trouble.
That's what they taught me, just about. and believe me, that's been so long ago now. I got my license 1987.
1987. I don't even do the math on that.
A few days 40? Ago.
Yes. A few shy of 40, is that right?
Yeah, something like about a couple years, 2-3 years. So yeah, that's been a while. And good old Generous Motors paid for that. I did that while I was an hourly worker. Yeah, that was part of my training. Got to do that. So yeah. So my first thought was, well, this is a way to get out of General Motors. So I went to work for ERA Realty. It was actually Ruth Bartley Realty, ERA Realty in Hendricks County. We called it Brownsburg then. Now everybody knows it as Avon, but it was right on US 36 in Avon where her office was. And it took me a little while, maybe a year or so, to realize that I could not, they were not set up for me to be a dual
Just a
career
small little
person.
office?
Yeah. They had several people in there, but that was back in the time when, okay, you're signing up for floor time. And I'm working Monday through Friday, so I'm doing that on the weekends, the only time I really could sign up. And
Steve, I'm going to stop you for a minute. A lot of our
sure,
listeners may not know what floor time is. Can you tell us what that is?
sure. And I think it's probably still practiced in some places where you as an agent sign up on a sheet that says Thursday from 9 a.m. till whatever, 2 p.m., you're going to answer the phones in the office. And if any leads come in, well, you get to take them, unless our policy says otherwise, unless you don't have enough experience. And that was kind of my thing. I wasn't experienced enough. So I always had to, when I did that, I had to run that by my managing broker, who was a very nice person. But a lot of times it was like, yeah, I don't think you're ready for that. And honest truth, I wasn't. So
Well,
she
that's
was
part
just
of our
trying to protect her
ethics,
name.
right? That's part of
Exactly.
the National Association of Realtors ethics is if we're not competent, we need to
Right.
disclose that. We maybe need to get some help. So it sounds like that was
Right.
a good thing.
Yes, she probably saved me some problems. And you also have to remember that was the dark ages. So
Before
my
electricity or
not quite, no, we got that the year before. But my high tech thing was a pager, and all it did
Mm,
was vibrate and let me know I needed to make a phone call.
yeah.
So
I
that
remember
was,
those days.
yeah, it was rough. No cell phones. And you also have to remember I'm working full time in a factory. I have very limited access to phones. So I figured out pretty quick, this just isn't going to work out for me to work with a lot of clients, although I did a few. Um, I focused more on the investment part.
Okay. Now 31 years you're a dual career agent though, right?
I was, yes. Actually, a
Or wait a
little
minute, you
longer
were at
than that.
General Motors for 30. How long were you at General Motors before you got your real estate license?
Well, that is a good question. Let's see. I probably right at 10 years.
About 10
Right
years.
at
So
10
maybe
years.
21 years
Quick,
you were a
quick
dual
math.
career agent.
Yeah, there. So that was retirement number one. And when I retired, I was a supervisor. I I did a lot of training for different people. I realized that that's really something I really enjoyed. Trying to help other people, learn and get things done. So that's kind of the start of what I'm doing now. But I actually left there after 31 years. I really wasn't old enough. I'm really not 90. Uh,
Well, we just tease you.
yeah. At least you don't call me Grandpa. They call me Uncle Steve.
Uncle
Uh,
Steve. There you go.
but a buddy of mine owned a company that did uh, remodeling, roofing, that kind of thing. And he asked me, "Hey, I got a spot for you. If you could come and do this, I'd love for you to manage my sales guys."
Oh,
So
okay.
opportunity to get outside, again, 31 years inside, and really had a good time doing that. I did that for about 9 years, still doing my real estate all this time.
So you went from being a double duty agent at General Motors to retiring from General Motors, and now you're a double duty agent managing a sales team.
Yes, yes,
All of a sudden, the Lego blocks are coming together for me, Steve.
yes. So that just kind of ran its course, that job. And I said, wow, I'm just going to try to actually start doing it. Somewhere in there, I can't tell you where, I did get connected with a husband and wife team that had their own real estate company. I had helped my daughter buy their home, and this couple had it listed. Just got talking to them, and it looked like this was going to be an amazing opportunity. They were expanding offices into all of the Meijer stores.
Oh, wow.
So I can't remember how, I'm going to say he had 4 locations at the time, and he had an option to do literally all the Meijer stores.
Wow. Okay. I didn't
And
know that.
yeah, it went so good for a while, and I was ready. This is going to be it. I'm going to manage these people. We'd already talked about it. He's going to give me some stores with. It's literally like when you go in and there's a Great Clips in the front door. You walk in.
Yeah.
That's where we had
For
our offices.
listeners who aren't in our region, you might not
Oh
know,
yeah,
or if we even have listeners in Germany. Shout out to Germany and England. Shout out to England.
yeah.
Meijer is a discount store. So it's
Yes.
a discount store
Everything
that
from
has both
groceries to
groceries to
underwear.
soft goods. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Underwear. I said just called soft goods, Steve.
Okay, whatever. Yeah,
All right. So what an opportunity. You're going to
yeah,
manage all of these real estate offices
yeah,
inside of the big box retail.
yeah, yeah. And that went good for about a year and a half, and then economy hit, and sales really slowed down. And unfortunately, most of their agents were dual career agents that just decided to get down to single career, and it wasn't real
Mm-hmm.
estate.
Mm-hmm.
So that just totally petered out. I stayed with them for a while, and honestly, they couldn't have been any nicer to me. My split was pretty high, but I got nothing but friendship. So I
And
get a
support,
phone.
maybe.
Yeah, but it was pretty much just the 3 of us. So,
Well,
and only
support
2.
by meaning, cheerleading,
Oh
like
yes,
go Steve.
go Steve. Yes,
Uh-huh.
appreciate you. A nice Christmas present every year. We're still friends. They're nice people. They're in our market here. Um, I got a phone call and I got recruited.
No,
And
hey.
I got recruited to Keller Williams and to one of the largest teams inside of Keller Williams at the same time.
Right. Was it Livian then, or it was something else?
It was called Herd Group.
Herd
Adam
Group.
Hergenrother was
Okay.
the founder of that. They were actually out of
Awesome.
Vermont. And Michael Mergel, who's still a very good friend of mine, was wanting to open a branch of it on the west side of Indianapolis. And he wanted me to help him do that.
Awesome.
So again, with the management stuff.
Well, it's what this is an important thing, Steve, for double duty agents, is that the skills that they bring with them will help them in their new career. And that's what was happening for you. You had been teaching and training and managing and all of your others. So now you're moving into that similar role. Does that make sense?
Literally something I always wanted to do. I mean, from the time I started General Motors, it's always something I really wanted to do. So just, the opportunity was there. And we started building a team inside our market center. We had a very good reputation amongst the other agents, amongst the leadership there. And so, yeah, that's how I got to Keller Williams. And then eventually it became a much larger group called Livian inside of Keller Williams, which they are all over the country.
Yes.
Very, very large organization inside of Keller Williams. That same position that I was holding just really wasn't there in the larger group.
In the new company.
In the new company, yeah. So I just happened to be in our market center one day, and I was talking to our MCA, Jessica, and just feeling a little sorry for myself that I couldn't make them understand what I wanted to do in this organization. I wanted to help the agents to keep growing.
Yeah.
And by some people would call it luck, I would call it God. Rhonda, who is the person who actually owns our market center,
and everyone met her in episode 2.
Okay.
So you've met Scott and Rhonda Smith, my listeners here. So yes, if you've missed that episode, you're going to go back and hear it. So Scott and Rhonda Smith is episode 2.
They very great people. I did not know Rhonda very well. I knew her, but knew of her more than I knew her. And she just happens to walk in and said, "Hey, would you be interested in a leadership position?" And I said, "Let me think about it." Yes. So wasn't quite that simple. We went through the process of evaluation and all that. But yeah, that through a couple steps basically led me to where I am today.
I love that. So the director of agent growth, what is your position today?
My position inside of our organization is I only deal with our own agents, our own internal agents.
So no
And
recruiting.
I do not recruit. I basically recruit our own agents, if that makes sense.
Re-recruit.
That is literally in my
Re-recruit.
job title or in
Is
my
that a
job
word?
description.
Re-recruit? Re-recruit?
It is now.
It is now.
So I want to make sure that they are sticking to the plan that we have for them. I want to make sure that they know who their resources are, how to get to them. And I always emphasize, look, I'm not the only person that's here to help you, but by golly, I'm one that really is sincere that I want to help you. So, give me a call. I don't always have the answer, but I know where to get it.
Yeah. Well, and you have a little bit of experience. That's what I meant by long in the tooth,
Yeah.
right? You got a
Yeah.
little bit of
Yeah.
experience behind
Yeah.
it. Oh, I love it. Okay. Steve, tell me a little bit think about back when you first got your license and you were trying to figure out your place,
Mhm.
what that was going to look like as you're transitioning from your other job from one career to the other and taking real estate along with you. Think back then and think about some of the challenges that you had and some of the choices that you made. Can you think of any that might be, really good for somebody to consider if they're having the same experience?
Well, I know that, money is always an issue in real estate. I
In
mean,
life.
in life, but when you become a new agent, you have all of a sudden you have all these fees
Yeah, it's
and
a little it seems really expensive. So we may have some listeners who haven't quite made the decision yet to join, to become a
yeah,
realtor. And here's the thing, it's going to seem really expensive in the beginning, but you're starting a business. I actually think while it might be a little expensive, it's got one of the cheapest startup costs, I think, of most other businesses with the potential that we have anyhow.
absolutely. When I was recruiting agents, that was something I always pointed out to them. Um, Really, I mean, for a few $1,000s, you're not going to go out and buy a McDonald's or start a franchise anywhere else where you get training and all that um, for that kind of money.
No,
But
no.
if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. So that's where the dual career part comes in.
Yeah.
You use this job to fund this job of real estate and keep building on it and get to where you need to get, where you can get rid of that first job.
And that is a large segment of, I think, our double duty agents. A large segment of them is they need a transition plan then, right? So the choice they
Right.
need to make is to get started and then to get the education and training in and then work on a transition plan. And our listeners heard that from Annie. Annie had a very detailed transition plan in place. I happen to know that because I coached her on it. But yeah, so that's a good point. So we have to have the money not only just for the expenses of being in real estate, but to pay for life because it's going to take us a minute to get, unlike a McDonald's where you might sell your first cheeseburger the day you open, you're not going to sell your first house the day you open.
Right. And can I just back up just for a second?
Yes.
I'm gonna give you and all coaches a plug here.
Okay. I love that.
And for anybody that's listening to this, I mean, you are so fortunate that you even know about coaching. I knew nothing before I came to Keller Williams, other than a few things, the ferries and things like that that you would see things on Tom Ferry. I knew nothing about being able to be coached and to better understand what I was doing. So that is such a benefit to agents and whether you're, wherever you're at. I mean, most places have some form of coaching. We have taken it to the next level with someone like you, Carla. We really feel highly that is a huge factor in someone's success. But anyway, and I'm not saying that just because we're on this together, but I mean, I've thought about that many times myself. What would have happened if I just started my career now and not 30 years ago? With all the technology and the stuff, it does boil down to you have to use it. But There's
Well,
that. But
you do, and the same goes with coaching, right? You have to use it. But I'm with you. I mean,
yeah,
two things. One, I don't know where I would be had it not been for my coach, and our listeners also met our coach a couple of episodes ago,
oh, yeah.
Becky Glove, who came on and shared her story that I didn't know, even though she was my coach, which was fun. But even more importantly, we choose. If we choose to have a coach, then we have to be coachable, and sometimes that's a little
Yep,
challenging as well.
yep,
But
it is.
a coach absolutely helps you overcome like all kinds of thoughts that you have running in your head, the stories that you tell yourself, and sometimes your coach makes you not very happy. Do you ever have a coach that didn't make you happy, Steve, in the moment?
Yes, yes, I did, and I
I
have.
always say this, if I know I asked a question that made you mad at me, I did my job.
Yeah.
I love
Yep.
it. All right. So that's very good. All right. So some actions as you were building your career in real estate alongside your other careers, what
Mhm.
actions did you take on the real estate side? Particularly, what we're looking for here is lead generation.
Yes, and honestly, that was difficult for me. I mean, again, no cell phones, but yeah. So something, and I still say this to agents, but it's something I learned early on, actually from the Bartleys at the ERA Realty. Yeah, you're going to have to make 100 phone calls. You might talk to 10 people. Out of that 10 people, might get 4 appointments. Now that 4 appointments, you'll get 2 listings or 2 buyers. I mean, it's a numbers game. It was a numbers game then. It's a numbers game now.
Well, not
It's a
everybody wants to move at the same time. If they did, imagine how
exactly.
crazy it would be.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to set aside time to do lead gen. Again, it was usually weekends, and I did the floor time thing mainly so I could be in the office. I could use their phone. I could do what I needed to do on that time, and I did get business. I had business.
Okay. Just talking to people.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
that our job? Just talking to people.
yes. Oh,
When I got my
it's
license, I thought my job was going to be show houses. And I was a little surprised when I found out I had to find people to show the houses too.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know why I thought that,
We're
but I
doing
did.
private tours all the time.
Uh-huh. And now there's HGTV. Goodness, that's what everybody thinks.
Oh yeah,
So
the
fun. All right. So actions, talking to people.
yeah, yeah.
How about
Uh,
mindset? Can you think back when you were a brand new agent? Like what mindset did you need?
the one I needed and the one I had were two different things.
Well,
It
okay,
was like
let's
this
talk
is so
in
hard.
hindsight, which mindset do you
Yes,
wish you had? How about that
yes, yes,
question?
yeah, yeah. Um, just that I needed to do the activities. If you don't do the activities, you don't get the business. You don't get to the fun stuff. You got to do the stuff that. And honestly, I know so much more now than I did then. I mean, it's just the way it is. But so much more about what to say, how to say it. Literally, oh my goodness, I'm so glad we couldn't record my calls. It was, hey, you want to list your house? Click. Hey, do you want to list your house? Click. Because
Hey,
I
I
was,
still use those on telemarketers. When telemarketers call me, I say, "Hey, do you want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate?" And they hang up on me. It's fabulous.
yeah, I didn't even have that phrase. Um, I literally, I had so little training. I mean, it was just a little on the job training what I picked up there. Um, the honest truth is, I got more training in 2 years, my first years at Keller Williams, than I did the rest of my real estate career. I mean, I'm just saying that. That's truth. Absolute gospel. It was just trial and error is really what it amounted to. So, but if you want to be a dual career agent, the biggest thing you got to have a good work ethic, and I have a good work ethic. Because you are doing 2 jobs. You know, one you have to, and one you want to.
Yeah, and you
And
guys got to figure out which one's which, because
yeah, yeah. And you know what? It's not always the one you think it is.
no, it's
It's not
not.
always the way. It's not always that way. And not everybody strives to. I want real estate to be my full-time career. It's just I get it. I mean, we get people, and it makes total sense.
Yeah, we had an interview last week. He's 18 years by choice, a double duty agent, school teacher,
Yeah,
real estate agent who's in the top 20% of his market center year after year after
yeah,
year. He likes being
yeah,
double duty. I've also
yeah,
had interviews, and Steve, you probably fall into this category, who, whether you realize it or not, you're still double duty. Because if
yeah,
you're working with buyers and sellers and you're the director of agent growth, that makes you double duty.
yeah, 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 absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. You
So
know what?
you're
The
right.
thing I
Work
love
ethic.
about it, yeah, and you know what I love about the other thing, Carla. And again, I don't want to just keep plugging Keller Williams, but if dual career is not a dirty word with us. I mean, it's just,
No.
I mean, no, I mean, I asked the question. Oh, cool. Then let me help you with this line of training. So, because I know
Yeah.
you don't have all the time. Somebody else did. Uh, but anyway, yeah. Sorry, I squirrel here. Sorry. Um, but yeah, the
We
mind
love
back to
squirrels.
mindset. Back to mindset. You did. I just have. I had to set time aside, and I had to. That time was my real estate time. Now it's not as much as if I was full time because I just didn't have that kind of time because I had a family, still do. Um, so I could only set aside so much time to do that, but that time was sacred.
So you put it on your calendar, yeah? And that was just the time, that was your
Yeah,
schedule. That was like you had a part-time job and this is the hours that I work in my part-time job. And I think that is a key for agents. I've been coaching agents for 4 years and then I was a double duty agent. That's what I think that's a fundamental, right? We've got to
yeah,
do that.
yeah,
I actually think that our double duty agents have the potential of being more successful than their full-time counterparts because you know the old adage about give somebody who's busy the work, they'll get it
yeah,
done. And you talked about work
yeah.
ethic. And I think those two things go hand in hand. We get it done because we have to if we're double duty, right? So there's
Right.
there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right. So what are the biggest challenges that you see in your job as director of agent growth? What are the biggest challenges you see for our double duty agents right now?
Well, the theme that I keep coming back to with people is they're not great time managers. And you have to be, if you're going to be double duty, you have to be, because we're talking about you are opening a business, your real estate business. And no matter who you associate with, you're not working for them. It's not like your other job where you're getting a paycheck for punching a clock or whatever that might be. This is your business and you're associating with somebody to get the resources you need. You have to do the training for that real estate position. And that's, to me, I mean, literally I'll see people, I contact agents fairly early on, within the first 6 weeks that they've joined us. And I'll go into the database and I'll see, all right, so what have they done? And maybe they haven't attended our roadmap session that we have for them, or they haven't gone through orientation. And it's like, how can you not go through orientation and run a business? So that's probably the biggest challenge. Um, and I think it's just, you mentioned HGTV. I think people have a misconception of what they're getting themselves
Hey,
into.
hey, not everybody should flip a house. You'll agree with me on that.
Yes, yes,
And I think sometimes people have just, there's I don't know if it's sticker shock is what I'm going to call it. I don't know what the other word for it is,
yeah,
right? And I kind of had that a little bit too,
yeah.
because you mentioned earlier your real estate school really doesn't prepare you for what this is going
No,
to be. It doesn't talk to you about those two. There's two things, right? We're a business owner. That's a whole new skill set. And we have the responsibility of being a fiduciary for our clients, and that's a brand new thing. And we've got to learn both of them.
right.
If you're
Yeah,
not setting aside time to educate yourself, and you heard this last week from Jason as well, listeners, like you've got to dive into every opportunity that you have for training. And I know if you're a double duty agent, that's really challenging because of your time, your precious commodity. Here's a thought that came to me, Stephen. This is actually a unique thought. I hadn't had this thought before, but if you're not the manager of your time, who is?
Right.
Because if you're
Yeah.
not managing your time, somebody is.
Yeah. Or something,
Or
your
something.
phone or your gaming
Yeah.
system or
Oh, see, now I shudder at the thought of being in the real estate business without a cell phone, although sometimes I envy it as well.
yeah, I hear you. I
That's
hear
a
you.
love-hate relationship I got
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Well,
But
everybody's time is valuable, and we understand that. That's why, like I said, our training is set up that way. So we do have things in the evening for people, but you really have to take advantage of it, uh, because what ends up happening, and I know you've been intimately involved in this with people. Carla and I meet every morning on a Zoom call. She's on there with us, and we're talking about where we'll have agents that just are going along and they're not really doing the training, and all of a sudden, boom, they have a transaction, and they don't know what to do. They're not ready for it.
Steve, have you ever heard my analogy for that? Imagine going to a dentist who's never used a drill and getting a filling.
Yeah, yeah,
That sound awful?
yeah,
That's what happens when our
yeah.
agents are
Pretty
writing
awful.
contracts and they never practiced.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
All
So
right, so we're going to get education and we are going to manage our time and we're just going to, we heard a few episodes back about decide, right? We're going to decide what we're going to do,
yeah, yeah.
realizing that one thing we have to do and one thing we want to do. Is it important that we know why we want it?
Oh yeah. Your why is super important. Um, one of the questions I ask these agents after they've been in 6 weeks, so why real estate? Why did you want to be a real estate agent?
Yeah.
And I mean, I get most of the time I get good answers. I mean, it's like, the latest one I got, hey, I have a large family and I can't make the money I need to make in the job that I have. Great
Well,
answer. You can
Steve,
make
that's what we
whatever you
heard
want.
from you. You
Yeah,
just told me
exactly.
a story where you had a job that you thought you were doing really well at, and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
you have a family and now you
yeah,
need more.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the great thing about real estate is there's no ceiling. There's no ceiling. There's
Wherever you put it at.
yeah, there's
I
the
mean, just like the one you
exactly.
just
There
mentioned. You mentioned the agent that's a teacher and he's top 20% in
yeah,
his market center. I mean,
yes.
there's people doing this. A lot of people doing this that aren't top 20% in their market center, and they're doing it full time.
Yeah.
So it's what you want to do.
It's a choice. It's a
Yep.
choice you decide. And
Yep.
Dennis O'Brien told us that when you make a decision, all other options go away. You make a decision, this is what I'm going to do. But I am a firm believer, and they've probably heard this so many times they don't want to hear it again on this podcast, my listeners. But here's the thing: you have to have a reason that's bigger than your resistance, because you're going to have
Right.
resistance,
Yeah.
especially as a double
Yeah.
duty agent, because you just got off work.
Yep.
You
It's
did. You
hard.
just got off work.
Get off work, now go to work.
Yeah,
Yep. Doing something you don't really
exactly.
want to do. Make phone calls
First
or
one you're
whatever.
working for today, and the second one you're working for tomorrow, right?
Right.
You're working for the
Yep.
future, maybe. Maybe that's the way you look at it.
Let's talk about can we talk about my now?
Yes, I was getting ready to ask your now, and I
Okay.
want to hear the
Okay.
next step too.
Okay. Okay. Well, so I am so thankful for what real estate has done for my life. Um, I quickly going back, I did retire from General Motors. I actually got a retirement. And then a few years later, they contacted me and basically wanted me to do a buyout, which I did. And I bought real estate. I
Oh,
bought lots of real estate.
it's this
uh,
insider trading that we're allowed to do. I love it.
yes, it's amazing. Yes. So it was during a little bit of a downturn in the market. So I had owned single family homes on the west side of Indianapolis, kind of where I grew up. I knew that area real well, and that's what my wife and I did for years. And then we were transitioning, and we started selling those off. And we're going to just keep a few. And we were literally talking about early retirement, and then all this came up. But so So this next phase, when I started buying again, I bought condos because at this point I didn't want to do all the repair work and all that stuff on the
Maintenance,
outside of
yeah.
them. And so, but we were able to buy those with cash. So we owned them outright, and that's been several years ago that we were able to do that.
Wow.
So what real estate has done for me, it literally has enabled me to do what I do today. I always tell people I do this director of agent growth because I want to, not because I have to.
Mm. Isn't that
Um,
fun? When you get to do
yes,
something you love just because
it
you love
is
it.
so different. It's so different, people. When I do it because I enjoy doing it. I love working with Carla. I so much enjoy all the leadership people that we work with. Um, yeah, I wake up in the morning and like, man, I can't even believe this. I get to go do this. I mean, it's so much fun. And I can guarantee you I didn't feel that in 31 years of working at General Motors.
At General
You know,
Motors. No.
I appreciate everything they did for me. They got all three of my daughters through college. I appreciate all that. But I never felt one day like, I can't believe I get to go do this.
I get to go do it again tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah, the
good
exact
too.
same thing.
It's called passion, right? And
Yes.
I think part of it's finding your purpose, right? We all have a purpose, and maybe our purpose starts off one way and it ends up another. Like we have our ultimate purpose, and
Yeah.
that's kind
Yeah.
of that's where I feel. So I think maybe I'm hearing that
Yeah.
in you as well. We might
Yeah.
share
For
that.
sure.
We might share
Yeah.
that. All right.
Yeah.
So what's next, Steve? What's next for Steve? Uncle Steve, what's
Well, I
next?
mean, one of these days, I don't know when that day is. One of these days, Uncle Steve's going to retire for real. But it's not tomorrow. Like I said, I enjoy what I do. I've been very blessed, with my health.
And some grandbabies.
I've got seven. Let's see, am I saying that right? Yes, seven. I have seven grandchildren. Four of them are here in Indiana, and then I have three of them that are in Dallas, Texas, and we travel there 4 or 5 times a year. So yeah, I'm loving life right now. Um, I don't have any big plans to change anything in the near future. To see
Is
how
that
this
what
all works.
happens when you have your life by design? You've designed
Exactly.
your life and you've
Yeah.
arrived where you wanted to be, and you're just
Yeah.
happy to be there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. How many of
Absolutely.
you listeners want to get there? You heard this before. You heard this with Becky Gluff as well, right? When you have a life by design and you've designed it, you're living your life by design, not default, not the one that somebody else made for you. So I
Yeah.
love that. Yes,
Yep.
Steve, I love it.
Yep.
All right. One last piece of advice. What is
Sure.
your number one? Maybe something you're going to repeat, or maybe it's something that's come to you while we were chatting. What's the number one thing that you would recommend for our listeners who are double duty agents?
The number one thing I would recommend is get as much education as you can, and don't give up too quick.
Don't give up too quick. I love that.
Unfortunately, we get people that they'll do this and the business just isn't coming, and they decide this just isn't for me. Just don't give up too quick. Just when you think this is it, then go 6 months more, and I can almost guarantee you that the business will start coming in that time. It just works that way. We're not all fortunate. You know what? I hear stories of people get their license and boom, they got a listing. That's amazing. Doesn't happen very often though.
That always worries me. You know what?
Yeah.
Can I share with you why that worries me?
Yeah, let's hear it.
When they get it easy out of the gate, that means
Yeah.
then there's part of them that believes they don't have to work hard for it. Whereas if they
Yeah.
worked for it, that part of their brain said, "Ooh, this is great. This is what we do to get it." Right. And I think the ones that don't get it out of the gate might be have an advantage over the ones that get it immediately.
Yep.
And the ones that get it
Yep.
immediately, it's then on me to change that part of their brain that thinks this is going to be
Right.
easy. I don't have to work for it. Just saying.
Yeah. Literally, there are fundamentals in real estate that have not changed since I started. And lead generating, there's different ways of doing it. There's way easier ways of doing it than I ever had.
Than there used
But
to
you still
be.
got to do it. It's
You
not
don't have to
automatic.
dial the phone. and wait for the
No,
dial to
no.
come back and dial the next
Yeah,
number and
yeah,
wait for the dial
yeah.
to come back?
Right. No, you don't have to do that. Hey,
I we have a whole
we
bunch of
had push
listeners who
button
have
wall
no
phones.
idea what I just said.
I know. I know. What the heck are they talking about?
I know.
Uh, yeah, it's
What
just,
happens when you get old people together?
yep. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, really old. But yeah, just don't give up. Get with someone, Carla or like a Carla that can coach you into this stuff. And I just promise you the sky is the limit for you. It just whatever you want to do of it. That's the cool thing. When I was recruiting people, we never would say, you need to sell 5 million, 3 million, 15 million, 25 million. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Design what you want and then get a coach, get somebody to help you get there.
I love that. Steve, I love that so much. All right, Steve, let me ask you a question. I don't know the answer to this. Are you still working with buyers and sellers? If somebody had a referral, would you be interested in that?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I,
What
I,
areas,
I still,
where would they send you? If they had a client that was looking for you, where would they find you? Where would you want to work?
sure. So I'm basically in the central Indiana area, Indianapolis area, surrounding areas there. Yeah.
Okay. So if you want lots of experience for your client who's moving to Indianapolis
Yeah.
or in the area around here or leaving here, something, I don't know how that would work. They're moving
Yeah.
somewhere else. Then you would need to get in touch with Steve, and I will make sure that Steve's contact information is in the show notes.
Yeah. Would love it. Would love it. I'm always looking for referral partners.
Awesome. Steve, thank you so much for sharing your story. I enjoyed it because I didn't know all of that. And I love all of the pieces of it, including the insider trading,
Yes.
like we get to be in this business where that's
Yep.
possible. So that's
Yep.
fabulous. So,
Yep.
and I love the fact that you're living your passion and your life by design. It's your life.
Well, thanks for having me, Carl. I appreciate it. Sorry I made it so hard to get on here.
Oh, no apologies necessary. All the good things are worth waiting for, Steve.
There you go. You're
All
great.
right. Thank you guys so much. Steve, oh my gosh, I'm glad we finally got together so that I could hear your story. I did not know these things. I mean, goodness, what an incredible journey. Not only moving from a dual career agent, double duty agent, to becoming the director of agent growth at Keller Williams Indy Metro, but that 30 years of experience in real estate, so much that we can learn from that. So thank you so much. Let's dive into this week's keys to success. And the first thing we have to talk about is leveraging your prior experience. I mean, Steve talked to us about using his skills from his previous roles at General Motors and in sales management, all of those things to enhance his real estate career. I think we have to leverage our prior experience. So, what experience do you have in your current job that you can bring with you into real estate that will really set you apart and set you up for success? Steve also talked about choosing the right brokerage. We have heard this before from our prior agents. And, we just need to make sure we find the brokerage that's going to give us the necessary training and support and also opportunities for growth. So we need to do that. And if you find yourself right now not at a brokerage that's giving you that training, support, and opportunity for growth, then maybe you need to explore what other options there might be. Steve also talked to us about transitioning and transitioning smartly. What we're talking about is moving from our dual career status into perhaps real estate full time. And this isn't for everyone, but if it's something that you're considering, be strategic about that. Now, Steve was lucky enough to have the opportunity to retire from General Motors, and then he was able to go manage a sales team somewhere else. And then he moved into a team on an expansion team at Keller Williams, and then eventually moving into his leadership role. So several transitions, but having a careful career plan in place is going to be really key for you if you are considering a transition plan. All right, let's talk about the actions we heard from Steve, not using the rotary dial phone. We won't talk about that. I know some of you probably have never even put your fingers in a little dial to rotate the dial to dial it. You get the joy of not having to even dial your phone. You can just choose the contact and click on it. But we can seriously, like all kidding aside, we can dive into actions. And these actions, like they maintain the same no matter what generation. I think Steve was telling us what generation of his career we were in. So, consistent lead generation. The first action is that we have to be consistent with our lead generation. Talking to people is all this means, right? We have to find people who need our help. So, Steve talked to us about the importance of setting aside time that's dedicated just for lead generation activities. And even while managing your full-time job, you can do this. You just have to figure out when is that going to be, and it may be a weekend, it may be the evenings, whatever that looks like. He also talked about education and training. And I know this is a big point with Steve, but you have to engage. So we know you have to find a brokerage that has the education, training, and support that you need, but then you actually have to engage with it. So he highlighted the importance of that. And then also talk to us about effective time management. And I like to call that time use management because we can only manage our use of the time that we're given. But he talked about scheduling his real estate activities around his primary job when he was double duty, so that he could balance both careers effectively. So that was super important for him. All right, mindset. We have it again. We hear it all the time. Perseverance and patience. Steve, 30 years in the industry, he's seen several markets come and go, and we just have to be have to persevere no matter what the market is doing, and then we have to have patience because yeah, it's slowly then suddenly in our real estate business. He talked to us about having a growth oriented mindset and maintaining a positive attitude and how important that was for him. And then focusing on that continuous learning and adapting to new strategies as he moved from the 30-year ago technology to the current technology, and being able to stay ahead of the industry or on pace with it. And then he also talked about under mindset was passion. We talked a lot about Steve's passion. He is such a passionate person, and he loves helping agents. But finding your passion and your purpose is going to be key. I think this is key. Sometimes we wake up today, and today isn't the day we want to do what we know that we have to do. And if we have passion and purpose, that will pull us out of that and move us forward into what we need to do. That will also help you focusing on your long-term goals. So those are the keys to success today. And if you join me again next week, I have yet another inspiring success story of an agent just like you, someone who has another job or another commitment that keeps you from being in real estate full time. So until then, keep moving forward. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're leaving inspired and you found a key or two you're going to try out this week to see how they help you to unlock your success. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single story. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can find me at doubledutypodcast.com. That link is also in the show notes. Until next time, have a productive week.